What's up everybody? My name is Carl, and today I'm going to review Loki. Directed by Kate Herron, this follows from the events of Avengers Endgame, where we follow Loki, who is confronted by an organisation known as the TVA, who seek his help to catch a powerful variant of the God of Mischief himself. Loki, played by Tom Hiddleston, I think we can all agree that every time we see Loki on screen, we just get that little bit excited. I really enjoyed Loki in this, and I kind of expected a show or film where he was the central character, due to his increasing popularity. Loki's character arc goes full circle from being that conniving, mischievous god that we all remembered and know, to someone who learns compassion, emotion and empathy towards others, and learns that there is more to life than ruling the whole universe. I like Loki's developed relationships, especially with that of Mobius, played by, Owen Wilson. They have good chemistry and hopefully we see more of Mobius in season 2. Overall, Tom Hiddleston as ever does an excellent performance of the ever so entertaining and interesting God of Mischief, and has certainly set up the Doctor Strange sequel with much anticipation. Sylvie, played by Sophia DiMartino. Do you remember when Mobius said, "You're my favourite," to Sylvie? Yeah, I agree. She was excellent. This version of Loki was ruthless, cunning, and I'd say a lot more powerful. But like our Loki, Sylvie's character arc developed into someone who also learnt compassion, but certainly remained focused on the goal of destroying the sacred timeline. Sylvie's powers were interesting, especially the magic she possessed, which allowed her to enchant individuals in a dreamlike state. Not to mention she was skilled in combat, making her a complete badass in the fight sequences. I'm curious to see what happens next with Sylvie, as when we last saw her, she had killed He Who Remains, or as we all know him to be, Kang the Conqueror, allowing the sacred timeline to branch off, causing mayhem in the multiverse. My favourite episode of Loki was episode 5, Journey into Mystery. This episode was a lot of fun as we got to explore the different variants of the God of Mischief, such as Boastful Loki, Kid Loki, Classic Loki, and even an Alligator Loki. The Void was interesting, being more of a wasteland and survival spot for Lokis. The idea that it's a shark tank and the variants of food and Goliath is the shark doesn't sound nerve-wracking at all. I like how the character relationships develop, particularly between Mobius, Loki and Sylvie. This is a power 3 and more I hope to see in season 2. Alive as a being is pretty damn terrifying. Imagine being pruned to the void and the first and last thing you see is Goliath. Rest in peace. We got to explore the true potential of Loki in this episode. I was in awe when classic Loki recreated Asgard. Even Loki himself was amazed by saying, "We're stronger than we think." The good points of this show. This series sets up the future of the MCU. In the final episode of the show, the singular timeline branched off, creating the multiverse. This is where the MCU is heading next. It's now possible for different Marvel projects that have existed prior to the MCU to exist in the same universe, such as both the Sam Raimi and Mark Webb Spider-Man, which is what we potentially will see in the third MCU Spider-Man installment. It sets up the next big event in the MCU, which of course is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Visual effects. Certainly this had the best visual effects out of the 3 shows. The different worlds we got to see were pretty decent. Certainly the Citadel was a cool visual place. Cast. This as ever was excellent. I mean, we got Owen Wilson. Wow. In this. By the way, it was always a pleasure to see him on screen. I liked Tom Hiddleston and Owen's chemistry on screen. Magic. Of course, WandaVision was more or less the show that delves into this in detail. With Loki, they really go a step further. You've got people recreating worlds for crying out loud. The bad points of this show. Pacing. I think this was probably the biggest flaw of the show, but it's not deliberate. The series feels slow in places, but this is for dialogue and explanation. This is really felt in the finale with He Who Remains, who basically explains how everything with the TVA began. The context is needed to explain what's going on, so understandably, pacing is expected to be slow. Engagement. This is a personal take and my experience only, but personally, I didn't feel as engaged or connected with this show in comparison to the other two shows. WandaVision always enticed me with its annoying cliffhangers, and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier had that action-packed Punisher vibe to it. With Loki, I just didn't get that tense excitement or action-packed vibe. Don't get me wrong, the storyline is great and it has fun moments, but just overall, it wasn't my favourite. So in conclusion, I would give Loki a 7.75 out of 10. I love the storyline, the buddy cop friendship between Loki and Mobius, and how the series sets up the multiverse in the MCU. Admittedly, it does suffer with slow pacing, and from a personal perspective, I just didn't feel as engaged with the show through its entirety in relation to the other two shows. But I can't argue with how crazy the ending was. The multiverse is here, and Kang is going to cause some serious problems. I'm hoping season 2 is more up my street, and hoping to see what happens next. So comment down below what you thought of Loki. Who were your favourite characters, what was your favourite episode, and what do you think will happen in season 2? Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!